A mogul, whose empire once soared above the rest, is now crumbling under the weight of a staggering $60 million claim. This is the explosive twist that's forcing us to ask, what dark secrets lie beneath Diddy's glittering legacy?
Are you afraid in some ways that he'll get out, that there'll be some sort of retribution?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, even doing this, it's like, maybe I shouldn't say, maybe I should stop talking, shut up, but it's like, well, not talking hasn't changed anything either.
Dee Woods was a rising star, her promising career launched by music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
He is looked at as a hero of our community, and myself included, I looked up to him too, So a lot of people don't want to believe that their hero can be this other person.
But now the former Danity Kane member is joining a chorus of voices speaking out against him, saying she felt Diddy created a verbally abusive work environment.
I'm curious why you decided to speak up now.
I would say that this moment now is a time where I feel like my experience, my truth will really be heard and actually considered and believed.
While the world watched her climb the charts with hits like Showstopper and Damaged, Dee Woods says she was living in fear under the glare of reality TV cameras on Making the Band.
It was not a good experience.
For decades, Sean Diddy Combs built an empire on music, style, and relentless ambition. But now, new lawsuits are flooding in following the closure of New York City's Gender-Motivated Violence Act legal window on February 28th. Among the most explosive claims is one filed by Sarah Rivers, a former contestant on his hit show, Making the Band. Rivers' 148-page complaint, now making waves in federal court, alleges inhumane treatment that left her with extreme emotional distress affecting every aspect of her life. How did a promising career on a celebrated platform turn into a nightmare of control and humiliation? And can the titan of the music industry truly withstand such a relentless barrage of allegations?
Diddy's ex Making the Band singer Sarah Rivers is coming at his neck in a new lawsuit, and the allegations stem from her time on the popular MTV series. In a sprawling lawsuit obtained by TMZ, Sarah claims that Diddy subjected her to mistreatment, which wound up becoming content for millions to see on TV. Now, here's the thing. I agree. Diddy was unhinged. He was a maniac. He was maniacal on Making of the Band. The suit filed by attorney Ariel Mitchell. Sarah. Listen. The suit filed by attorney Ariel Mitchell on behalf of Sarah Rivers cites the infamous cheesecake from the Making of the Band 2, where she and the rest of the band had to walk several blocks to get Diddy a sweet treat as one of the numerous incidents of abuse. She also complains of being forced to sleep in an open bay with 4 other males despite the fact that she was married at the time, and says she was threatened by being ousted if she didn't comply. Okay, Sarah, you got a case. The suit also names MTV, Viacom, and several ex-Bad Boy employees who had a profile on the series at the time, including Diddy's mother, Janice, and ex-assistant Farnsworth Bentley. What? Sarah goes on to allege that Diddy acted maliciously and recklessly with her career by publicly dismantling the group while pocketing most of her show money.
Yo, fam, Puffy just told us to go to the store in Brooklyn and bring him back a cheesecake and walk.
Dad, see me on TV, some punk ass bitch, yo. It's crazy. If I walk to Brooklyn, I'm going home. That's where the I live, y'all. I'm not walking to Brooklyn. Is you crazy?
Yo, it's called making the bitch, not making the band. I said we go back and tell him we ain't doing it.
Got too more respect for him to do that.
It's slave labor right here, man.
It is, but hey, yo, if you the captain, bro, whatever you do, I'm with.
I mean, come on, man. Everybody got to be with me, though.
I'm with you.
I'm with you.
Yo, I'm with you.
To the end of this shit, man. So what they gonna tell me? They gonna tell me to Y'all stay there, then what?
Nah, I ain't staying.
I'm not staying. I'm not staying. He dropped you, he dropped me, he dropped all of us, yo.
I got you.
All right, I gotta go, Tony.
According to Rivers, the experience on making the band was not just challenging, it was a daily ordeal. She claims that her eating and sleeping schedule was rigidly controlled, and despite being married, she was forced to share a room with 4 men. Rivers' account of uncompensated manual labor and relentless mockery about her appearance paints a picture of a set where dignity was sacrificed for profit. The complaint even accuses Diddy of undermining her music career by sabotaging record deals for years. Perhaps the most shocking allegation comes from an incident where, as she recounts, Diddy used his left hand to adjust the collar of her jacket and then ran his left hand across her breasts, while repeating the phrase, "If you need anything, let me know."
In the nearly 150-page filing, Sarah Rivers, then known as Sarah Stokes, describes an awful and terrifying experience being a contestant, only for it to get worse when she actually made the band. Now, the lawsuit includes allegations of sexual harassment, forcible touching, and when she told Diddy no, well, he allegedly fired her and blacklisted her from the music industry. Sarah Rivers named nearly 30 defendants in her lawsuit beyond Diddy. It named former Bad Boy Records president Harv Pierre, Diddy's former assistants like Farnsworth Bentley, Making the Band boot camp instructors, dance choreographers, Diddy's mom Janice Combs, Paramount, Viacom, MTV, and more. According to the filing, defendants Lou Pearlman, Burr & Murray Productions, MTV, and UMG offered Diddy the show to repair his image after the 2001 criminal trial where his former protege Shine was sentenced to a decade in prison. So I mentioned the complaint is nearly 150 pages. The start of the complaint lists out all the defendants and mainly their ties to Diddy, so that took up more than 20 pages. Then from page 26 to 74, it describes every single episode of the show Sarah was on, from episode 1 where Sarah the plaintiff meets Diddy, then episode 3 where the contestants enter the Bad Boy boot camp to make the group, and from Sarah's complaint, it sounded like boot camp was from HE double hockey sticks. The complaint alleges Diddy eliminated contestants for complaining about not being fed. Only the female contestants were made to dance for or do choreography for Diddy. Plus, don't even think about crying or you're out of boot camp and not making the group. From there, it was more allegations of depriving the group of food, comments about Sarah's body and how she needed to get firmed up. The filing says Sarah was the only one Diddy scrutinized in a sexual and humiliating manner. Sarah alleges one instance where she was recording in the studio, Diddy saw her walking through the hallways and backed her up against the corner, preventing her from moving. He then allegedly got so close to her where he could kiss her, and then asked her if she was doing okay and needed anything. According to the complaint, Diddy ran his hands across her breasts. Sarah describes being frozen in confusion and fear. Then when Diddy went back to the studio, she walked as fast as she could away from him and left. Now, if you watch the show, you know how it ended. The group was made and it was called to band, but by the end of season 2 of the show, Diddy dismantled it. But Sarah alleges her rejecting Diddy's advances and refusal to pose for Playboy led him to fire her and disband the whole group. Sarah alleges Diddy was in breach of contract and never received any composition rights or credit for the songs used on season 2 and season 3 of Making the Band. She says the group was only given $5,000 in cash after tour performances. The only time she actually got a check was when she said she was pressured to sign to a publishing agreement with the company owned by Diddy's mom, Janice. So in exchange for her signature, she claimed she got a one-time payment of $25,000. And sure, $25,000 sounds like a lot, but not for years worth of work and filming all day and all night from 2002 to 2004.
Diddy's legal team, however, dismissed these allegations with a defiant statement. This is yet another example of false claims being filed against Mr. Combs. They declared, insisting that he has never sexually assaulted or trafficked anyone, regardless of gender or age. They argue that in today's world, anyone can file a lawsuit for any reason, and that these last-minute claims are merely opportunistic moves as the legal window expires. As the courtroom battles intensify, one can't help but wonder if this surge of lawsuits is part of a calculated effort to dismantle an icon's legacy.
Diddy has denied all the allegations against him. And when it comes to Sarah's lawsuit specifically, his legal rep said, quote, "This is yet another example of false claims being filed against Mr. Combs. No matter how many lawsuits are filed, it won't change the fact that Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted or sex trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor. We live in a world where anyone can file a lawsuit for any reason. With the deadline for New York's Gender-Motivated Violence Act expiring tomorrow, it's clear that opportunists are rushing to file last-minute meritless claims. Mr. Combs remains confident he will prevail in court."
Elizabeth, I wasn't surprised that we saw lawsuits filed on the last day. Of course, the window is closing, so if anyone didn't file, they're probably going to be prevented from filing unless another state ends up opening the statute of limitations, or a city like New York did. So the fact that we're seeing these last-minute lawsuits is something that's typical. The fact that we saw so many is atypical, but of course we're dealing with someone who is facing dozens and dozens of lawsuits already.
And just before we get into more of this complaint, talk to me a little bit about how powerful that look-back window was that really allowed a lot of Diddy's alleged victims to file complaints and lawsuits against him, given that the statute of limitations in other cases would have been expired.
Elizabeth, it's really powerful, and with sex abuse and sexual assault, there's been a lot more recognition, and what legislatures have done is they've opened up these statute of limitations. It really started actually with the Catholic Church and the sex abuse cases, and what they tried to do is open the statute of limitations for both criminal and civil. The criminal was struck down as unconstitutional, a violation of the ex post facto clause, but these civil statute of limitations, because we're just talking about money, these windows, these openings, they have been allowed. And in Diddy's case, first it was New York State and now New York City. And now both of those windows have closed. So unless someplace like California or Florida or someplace where sexual assault happened, someone could file a claim there, this is probably going to be the end of the road for most of the Diddy claims, at least certainly in New York.
Yet, Rivers' suit is not an isolated episode. It emerges amidst a swirl of controversy, with headlines even suggesting that Diddy confessed to ordering Tupac's murder after raping a male sex worker, a claim as shocking as it is hard to digest. Additional legal documents have implicated grand jury witness Courtney Burgess and media conglomerate Nexstar in a web of alleged defamation and fabrication, accusing them of spreading falsehoods about the mogul. With Rivers' attorney, Ariel Mitchell, who has himself been embroiled in legal battles with Diddy before, taking a stand, the narrative is expanding into a full-blown exposé of abuse, manipulation, and power abuse.
In Orinda apartment in 2018.
Very savage gang rape.
A woman claims to have met Diddy over FaceTime in 2018 after running into one of his friends at a bar. During that conversation, her attorney said the woman made a comment that upset the rapper.
Told Mr. Combs she believed he had something to do with Tupac's murder, so she wasn't interested or impressed with seeing him.
The lawsuit says a month later, Diddy's friend allegedly set her up to be raped by Diddy in Orinda, where she said she was drugged and threatened with a knife. And Diddy said she would pay for her statements about Tupac during the video call. The lawsuit says that while violently raping the woman, the rapper told her her life was in his hands and that if he wanted, he would take her and she would never be seen again. According to her attorney, the woman was raped by other men as well. And despite being drugged, she was able to escape. On her way out, telling Diddy she did not party with him and did not enjoy partying with him and that he raped her. The lawsuit claims neighbors in the area called police.
Contra Costa sheriff came out to the neighbor's home at the time of the incident because several police reports appearing, 911 calls allegedly were made.
According to the lawsuit, several weeks after the rape, the accuser went to the hospital because she was still in pain. The lawsuit claims hospital personnel called Walnut Creek police, who took a statement from the accuser. This time, she said she did not want to name Diddy. She said she was afraid that she wouldn't be believed and that later on, the rapper would harm her.
New witness before the grand jury in the Sean Diddy Combs case. Courtney Burgess, former associate of Kim Porter, that's Diddy's ex-girlfriend, mother to 4 of his children, and unfortunately, the woman we've seen in the video. The allegation, he has seen, that's Cassie, not Kim Porter. Cassie's the one we saw in the video. It's hard to keep him straight, let's be honest. All right, so he has seen, which I think is the key word in this story, salacious videos of Diddy and celebrities engaged in sex acts, including with underage victims. He also alleges to have the unedited version of Kim Porter's diary. True? What's the chance? And if so, so what? We know many lawsuits have been filed against Combs, alleging abuse. Many of them, to this point, have been anonymous. Now, there is a reason that people are often allowed to allege and be anonymous. However, a judge ruled that a woman who anonymously sued Combs this month for rape must reveal her name on her lawsuit or will be tossed out. The lawsuit alleges Combs raped her in 2004 at a party in a Manhattan hotel. She was 19, college student, also allegedly ordered her to perform oral sex, or else he would have them both killed, her and a friend. Otherwise, he would have them both killed.
But there's another layer to this unfolding drama. As legal challenges mount, Diddy appears to be shifting tactics in a bid to stay afloat, in a move that seems almost surreal, given the gravity of the accusations. The music mogul has listed his luxurious private jet for charter. This sleek, all-black Gulfstream 550, registered under his company, Lovair LLC, is currently based at Van Nuys Airport in Los Angeles and is being offered on exclusive platforms like Victor and Jetly. Capable of seating up to 14 passengers, the jet promises an elite travel experience, even if the renter never learns its notorious owner. At the same time, his Beverly Hills mansion has been put on the market for a jaw-dropping $61.5 million. These asset moves reveal not only a strategy to cover mounting legal expenses, but also a fascinating irony. As Diddy's personal legacy faces unprecedented scrutiny, he is liquidating high-value properties to keep his empire's gears turning.
First time in this thing.
It's gonna be better once some stuff is swapped.
Smell of newness. Fresh mahogany.
So we have this Gulfstream, a G550. It was registered by Lovair LLC sometime in 2020 or 2021.
Well, for one, the price has to be right, okay, so that's why we offered $30 million. But the home was a little underwhelming. When I went inside, it really wasn't reaching that $60 million expectation that buyers want. So I saw room for improvement, and I saw room for my company to do well.
Okay. I mean, so did you actually put a $30 million offer on it, or did you just say it like publicly?
No, the offer is in. It's in the listing agent's inbox. We haven't got a response yet. They're going to go to the Diddy camp and see what they say, but it's for real a $30 million offer.
I mean, do you think that they'll accept the $30 million offer? I mean, being that it's less than asking.
Well, Kanye accepted $21 million when I offered 39 less than what he was expecting.
If Diddy doesn't accept the $30 million offer, is that your final offer, or like how much are you willing to go to like negotiate to get
So if he doesn't accept my $30 million offer, then my offer actually goes down to 27.5.
Oh, okay. You're standing on that.
I'm standing on that. I'm a firm negotiator, and if they don't accept it, then we go down from there. We don't go up.
Does it bother you that maybe some of the freak-off parties might have happened in the home?
May have happened. I'm pretty sure they did happen. However, that's the whole premise of this project, is to change the stigma, get in there and completely change the whole interior. That way a buyer that they come in, they'll see the previous pictures, they'll see what it was, and they'll see what I've transformed it into.
Amid these seismic shifts, questions remain. Is Diddy's empire finally buckling under the pressure of these claims? Can a man who once dictated trends and redefined the music business now survive a storm of allegations that span from inhumane treatment to sexual misconduct? Comparing his situation with other high-profile cases, from the harrowing convictions of Harvey Weinstein to the notorious scandals involving R. Kelly and Jeffrey Epstein, Many wonder if Diddy's influence will endure or crumble like a house of cards built on questionable ethics and unchecked power.
After the dissolution of his partnership with Diageo, Combs' last remaining business asset was his equity stake in Revolt TV, the network he founded in 2012 to showcase creators in hip-hop and youth culture. In early June, as news of the sexual assault lawsuits continued making headlines, Combs sold back his stake in Revolt, and the company will hand his shares over to employees. Without Diageo and Revolt, Forbes estimates that Combs has approximately $200 million in cash. His Sean John fashion line, which once racked up more than $400 million in annual sales, has been dumped by Macy's, and his eyewear brand has been booted from opticians, rendering it virtually worthless. Despite Combs' impressive real estate portfolio, including 2 Miami homes and an LA compound, around half of its actual value is tied up in mortgages. His bad boy music catalog, which Forbes once estimated as high as $125 million, would likely fetch a much lower price these days. And his prospects look grim in the near future. The 6 civil lawsuits against him alleging sexual assault will play out along with the federal government's investigation. Given the severity of potential federal charges, Combs would face enormous financial penalties and a long prison sentence. Combs has not been criminally charged. Combs' former Manhattan headquarters for Bad Boy Worldwide is now just a pile of rubble, and much like his former corporate castle, the 54-year-old hip-hop mogul's empire has crumbled along with it.
We start with Harvey Weinstein. In April, the New York Court of Appeals overturned Weinstein's 2020 rape and sexual assault conviction and ordered a new trial. A retrial is set for November. Weinstein maintains his innocence and that all sexual encounters were consensual. Harvey Weinstein, once the Hollywood powerhouse, was accused by some 80 women, including Ashley Judd, of sexual assault and prosecuted in New York and California. He was acquitted of a 2010 sexual battery allegation, but a mistrial was declared for 2 other accusers. In 2020, he was convicted of rape and sexual assault, though New York's highest court later overturned his 23-year sentence.
This today is an act of institutional betrayal.
His defense attorney, Arthur Aidala.
So the Court of Appeals deserves a tremendous amount of credit for doing this, based on the law, not based on opinion polls.
Weinstein's legal troubles were far from over. In 2022, he was convicted of rape and assault in Los Angeles and recently indicted on new charges in New York, where he remains behind bars. Weinstein maintains all sexual encounters were consensual.
I believe I can fly.
R&B singer R. Kelly was sentenced in federal court in New York and Chicago for sexually abusing underage girls and recording it. In New York, the I Believe I Can Fly singer was sentenced to 30 years on sex trafficking and racketeering charges, followed by a 20-year sentence for child pornography and enticement charges in Chicago.
Furthermore, the timing of these lawsuits, coinciding with the closure of New York City's legal window for gender-motivated violence claims, raises another unsettling question. Are these claims an opportunistic backlash against a powerful figure, or do they reveal a deeper, systemic issue within an industry that once celebrated Diddy's genius? The juxtaposition of high-stakes litigation with strategic asset monetization paints a picture of a man at the crossroads, facing a reckoning that could redefine his legacy for generations to come.
I think that the public and the media have gotten nearly every fact wrong about what the prosecution's case is here. So I just want to take one issue with that. You know, there's no minors, there's no celebrity sex tapes. You know, the civil lawsuits here are not driving the allegations that we're defending against, but it is driving the vitriol against him in the media.
This kind of created a life of its own, that they had seized videos of the freak-offs, and it kind of spun into who's on those tapes. And Hollywood became unusually silent.
I think there's one huge reason, and that's Tony Busby. Right after the indictment, he came out with a press conference with a 1-800 number behind him, threatening lawsuits against our client without having filed any. And we saw exactly how it played out, and we saw exactly why Hollywood went quiet.
And
what she's referring to, part of why Hollywood went quiet is we now know that Tony Busby sent demand letters to several celebrities, most notably Jay-Z, who stood up to that and is actually now suing Tony Busby for extortion.
Right. Because the person who was suing him dropped it because of all the inconsistencies in her case. Now, Tenny also said that they are going to be looking to file other defamation lawsuits. And she made that really clear.
I'm in LA. It's the Hollywood celebrity path to justice, where we simply look at a clip like that and we laugh and giggle about, oh, let's get alcohol, let's get drugs, let's get all these ladies at a party. You know, for years, P. Diddy's gotten a hall pass. He's actually created his own kingdom where he makes his own rules, and you got to follow his rules or you get penalized. And guess what, Laura? He's now in a federal penitentiary, and for the first time in his life, he's facing his own fate at the hands of somebody else. And I will tell you, Laura, I've done federal cases, that's not the place you want to be in federal court. 90% of federal criminal indictments brought down are pled out, right? A plea deal is brought. And of the only 10% left, 90% of those defendants that go to trial, they lose. So he is looking at a daunting uphill battle to fight these horrible charges.
Now, Brian, one of the DHS agents involved in this raid on his Miami mansion described what he saw inside the house, saying that, in my opinion, he's as bad as Epstein. These women are young, either barely legal or barely illegal. Brian, this sounds like he was a monster.
Yeah, Laura, I will tell you that this indictment was very detailed, by the way, too. Your viewers should know there were over 300 subpoenas served, over 50 witnesses interviewed. Why is that important? Because the federal prosecutors aren't going to be leveling an indictment like this unless they have ammunition and they have cause to bring it.
As the courtroom battles intensify and media outlets scramble to cover every twist, the real human cost of these allegations cannot be ignored. For Rivers, the scars run deep. Her story is one of shattered dreams and unrelenting hardship, a narrative that exposes the vulnerability behind a glamorous facade. And for Diddy, the situation is equally complex. The barrage of lawsuits and the relentless scrutiny of his business practices force a critical examination of what power really means in an era where even the mightiest can fall.
Like he wasn't... Nah, he had no plans. That's all. That was all from MTV show. That was all for MTV show, bruh. He ain't had no plans for them. Not at all. He really had no plans for Danny the Game. And they sold records. And I that's why I had said that thing about what he had said, because I think it's the parents or somebody was getting at him. They was the parents, the management, or whatever like that was getting at him hard. And that's when he made that statement that I had said. He said, yo, they keep effing with me. I'ma drug all of them up and pimp them out to my nigga. And I said that on your show before. So he didn't have no real plans for them. Not at all. You see what happened after the MTV shit went off? If you had plans for him, you the super producer, somebody should have been all right.
So he was just playing games with him when he was making them go walk to get cheesecake and all that. That was all.
Yeah, that's his ego. You know what I'm saying? That's his ego. Then he'll sit back in the studio, because he had like a big room. Whereas that with this giant television, we used to eat up in there, and it's like sometimes artists are going there and write, you know what I'm saying? Jennifer Lopez, they would go in there with a writer and write a song or something like that. It was a cool room. He would go in there and just talk about, you know, all kinds of crazy shit about people or whoever it was. You know what I mean?
Is Diddy finally unraveling under the weight of a $60 million expose? Is this the decisive moment when the dark underbelly of power, manipulation, and scandal is laid bare? Or just another strategic move to deflect the rising tide of allegations? With lawsuits piling up, shocking claims, and high-stakes asset moves, every twist in this saga forces us to ask, is this the final piece in the puzzle of Diddy's crumbling empire, or merely the beginning of a deeper, more disturbing revelation? And if you're ready to follow every twist in this explosive drama, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications.